What a sensational book this is. I first read it 3-4 years ago. I picked it up recently to take another look at it. It was even better the second time around. I've got to be clear about this. This is not some feel-good, happy story. And even though it's a thriller where the ends get sort of tied up, it's not going to leave you totally satisfied when you get to the last page. It's very dark. It's also really suspenseful and exceptionally well written. The story concerns an ex-IRA gunman. His name is Jerry Fegan. He spent 12 years in a Belfast prison called the Maze. He was released 3 or 4 years ago, and it's now 2007, which is a few years after the peace settlement between the IRA, the British government, and the Ulster Loyalists. It's also a couple of months after the election of a Northern Ireland Parliament. Since he got out of prison, Fegan has been tortured by the ghosts of the people that he killed at the direction of the IRA. He's spending his time mostly trying to drink himself into oblivion, and he finally realizes that what he needs to do is to kill the people who directed him to commit these murders. The people he's after are all members of what I'll call the IRA Old Guard, the ones who were actually too smart to commit the murders themselves. As he kills each one of these guys, a ghost or a couple of them, leave them alone. So he's determined to kill them all. His little campaign of revenge disturbs just about everybody inside the Northern Ireland political establishment. Now that includes the former IRA leadership, current politicians in the UK and in Northern Ireland, and the Ulster Loyalists, all the people who are now running things. The other main character in the book is a guy called Davy Campbell. Campbell is a former UK soldier who has infiltrated the remnants of the IRA. They assign Campbell with the task of identifying the killer behind this current wave of murders and then eliminating them. Fegan's campaign of revenge and the hunt for him by David Campbell is exceptionally violent. And maybe what's more disturbing are all the memories of the killings that Fegan did during his time as an active IRA gunman. What an awful place Northern Ireland, especially in Belfast, must have been during the period that historians, by way of big understatement, call the Troubles. I remember the bars I used to go into in Greenwich Village during the 1970s, which all had contribution jars on the bars for the IRA. And I remember one bartender in particular who'd go out of his way to say that the donations were certainly not meant for any kind of humanitarian shit. Instead, they were all going to go exclusively for weapons. When you read this book, you realize what an awful thing that was. I'm really happy I never put a dime in those jars. The picture that Stuart Neville paints of Northern Ireland, especially its government, during the time following the peace settlement is, I'd say, pretty disturbing. He depicts a ton of really cynical corruption that permeates all sides in the Northern Ireland and UK political establishments. You really have to hope that in the 40 some odd years since this settlement, Northern Ireland maybe has sort of calmed down, and maybe they've gotten themselves a decent government and a decent society. Like I said at the beginning, this is no way a happy book. It's exceptionally dismal, bleak, violent, and suspenseful. Taking all that together, I think it's an exceptionally good read. I have no idea whether the picture that he paints of this period is accurate, but I have no reason to think that it's not. If you want a book that you're going to have a hard time putting down, but that's also going to get you thinking, this one is for you. The Ghosts of Belfast by Stuart Neville. I'll see you next Sunday.